Good morning, metalheads of the internet, and welcome to a brand new episode of the Metal Meltdown. Today we are talking about Children of the Great Extinction, a brand new studio album, the first in nearly 10 years, and the 6th overall, from American progressive death metal and metalcore crew, Becoming The Archetype. Based out of Atlanta, Georgia, these guys were underdogs of the new wave of American heavy metal scene and movement, initially starting off as a more straightforward kind of death metal, metalcore band with some more brutal and some more progressive elements. They initially transitioned into full-blown progressive metal. They did tech death. They started incorporating like some gent and some deathcore influences into the 2010s. These guys were never like a massive deal or anything, but their music was consistently really interesting and dynamic and unpredictable, and they did see some mild success on the Billboard Top Heat Seekers charts. Now, I don't know exactly why Becoming the Archetype just fucking disappeared in the 2010s, but I guess it doesn't really matter now. They're back, they have a new album, and it's pretty fucking good. From what I understand, members of Becoming the Archetype have been working on this pretty quietly over the course of the past few years, and it shows. This thing is meticulously crafted and produced. It has a very elaborate and ambitious concept and storyline attached to it. With singer and guitarist Seth Andrew Heacock's writing, thematically it reflects the reality of our current humanitarian situation. Existential dread pervades our existence. People have experience with real monsters in addition to facing our own mortality. These things are evident not only in metal culture but greater culture as well. We touch upon all of this as well as the possibility of redemption and salvation from these terrors. With singer and bassist Jason Wisdom adding on, this new album isn't just about making more music, but about recapturing the original artistic spirit of the band. Children of the Great Extinction is not just another Becoming the Archetypes album, it's a fully realized vision of Becoming the Archetype that we've always wanted to put forth. When you hear it, I hope you think Becoming the Archetype is back. And yeah, I'd agree with that. That actually sums it up quite nicely. Becoming the Archetype is back, and they sound pretty fucking good. Musically, this record feels like a culmination, a smorgasbord, if you will, of everything that Becoming the Archetype has done at some point. Like, there's metalcore influence, deathcore influence, progressive metal influence, technical death metal influence. The Lost Colony, for instance, is a very bleak and hopeless kind of track with some bold and stark hooks, contrasted with some really crisp and dynamic grooves. It kind of sounds like if a really young progressive metalcore or deathcore band got like really into Gojira. Like there's some really tight rhythms, but this is performed with like a lot of urgency and vigor and fire. It kind of feels like if a really young progressive metalcore or deathcore band got really into Gojira. Like it's got some really tight rhythms and riffs, and it's performed with a lot of urgency and vigor and fire. Especially with some of these lyrics right at the very end, as the band writes, "Blackout, centuries of failed attempts to reconnect with the colony. The government sent the warning out, a final message to society. Abort, 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 abort." The Remnant as well dips its toes into some Gojira territory with maybe some little dashes of influence from Between the Buried and Me, with some more punishing angular rhythms and some weird sequences and a lot of like synthesizer passages and some more like really bold and stark choruses. There are also some fatty, juicy, bassy, proggy guitar grooves throughout this thing that are legit pretty fun. They're slightly derivative of a lot of Sumerian core, like I'm reminded of like After the Burial and Periphery, but like fuck it, it works. The Calling switches things up with some more blatant and aggressive death metal influence and riffery. There are also some haunting keyboards here and some clean vocal arrangements that, honest to God, wouldn't be out of place on a mid-2000s Opeth record. The way the track closes with its combination of slower, doomier riffs and full-on thrash metal, death metal, guitar pyrotechnics, honest to God, reminds me of the sci-fi prog metal of a band like Vector as well. The appropriately titled The Ruins is a ruinously effective track filled with delicious pinch harmony riffs and grooves, and honestly a pretty goddamn cutthroat performance from Ryan Clark of Demon Hunter fame. I do not really consider myself a Demon Hunter fan at all. They're not a band I pay a lot of attention to or care about, but credit where it's due, he kinda kills it on here. Without question, though, the best of the bunch would be the album's closing number, The Sacrament, a very lush and evocative and bombastic progressive death metal powerhouse with fantastic vocal performances, some really great keyboard and guitar and synth arrangements. It's very weird and epic and wild. It makes for a really dramatic and cathartic finish to the record, especially given how kind of claustrophobic it weirdly is in its final moments. Like, throughout the entire album, it feels as if the walls are closing in and you have less and less room to kind of move around and figure shit out, kind of emphasizing the themes of existential dread and apocalypse and ruin in society. A bold move for sure after being gone for 10 years, but it pays off really fucking well. It makes for an album that has a lot of atmosphere and a lot of mood, and overall is just really heavy and brutal on top of having really good fucking songs. There is, in my opinion, just a little bit of filler across the record. Like, there are a couple of tracks that do feel a little bit aimless, and at the very least do not feel as necessary, as important as other tracks. And I would also make the argument that while entertaining, a lot of songs do also feel derivative of Gojira, of Between the Buried and Me, of a lot of progressive metalcore and deathcore, and as a result, it can also be a little repetitive and predictable at times. I don't think Becoming the Archetype is actively trying to sound like any of these bands or any of these genres. I think it's just kind of a byproduct of the fact that this is, as I said before, a culmination and a smorgasbord of everything else that the band has done beforehand. But it is still noticeable, and once you notice it, it's kind of hard not to notice it. Still, though, the good outweighs the bad. I thoroughly enjoyed this record. It's very well produced. It's very ambitious. I would feel comfortable giving this an enthusiastic 3.5 out of 5. Not Becoming the Archetype's best record, but after being gone for 10 fucking years, I think it's a pretty impressive comeback. I'm not entirely sure how longtime fans will respond to this, but if everything I have said so far intrigues you, I would say give this a shot. If you're brand new to the band, I actually think this would be a great record to start off with because it has a lot of different elements and ideas from across their discography in one convenient and ambitious package. Looking forward to seeing how this band continues to expand and evolve in the future, to seeing what another potential album could have in store, assuming I don't have to wait 10 years at least. But even if I do, at least I know, based on what I'm hearing here, it should be worth it. 3.5 out of 5. It's pretty fucking good, man. Check it out. And that is it for the Metal Meltdown. I'm not an expert, nor do I claim to be, so what do you think? Do you like this record? Do you not like this record? And what do you want to hear from me next? And thank you for watching. Make sure you press subscribe right here so you get updates on the Metal Meltdown fucking immediately. And as always, you have yourself a fantastic fucking day.